BowmanDigitalMedia.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday. It is Monday already. It's Marketing Mondays with Ira Bowman, and my guest today, Angela Thurman. Angela, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good afternoon, Ira. Thank you for having me.
It's afternoon because you're coming to us from the great state of Texas. I'm here in California. It's not noon yet. I'm still drinking my morning coffee. Hope you all are having a good time wherever you're from. I'm suspecting that some of you are not working today because it's Thanksgiving week. In fact, I want to ask that question. I'm going to ask it right now. Are you working this week? It's one of those things that, it's not everybody's obviously in the United States, but for those of us in the United States, a lot of us have kids, it's a truncated week because of Thanksgiving. Are you working Friday? But some of us just take the whole work week off. So Ingor's in the house saying hello. Hello, Ingor. Ingor's our friend from Canada. She's actually from South Africa, but she lives in Canada now. She's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And we know her from WBS Rocks. We should give a shout out to the whole gang.
Hi, Ingor.
Hi, Ingor. So, Angela, you are a PMP from the great state of Texas. You're in the Houston area. I'm going to share the screen.
That's true.
This is your LinkedIn profile. In fact, I accidentally clicked on it, so I'm on it on both my channels. Hang on a second as I get this set back up. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Angela. For those of you who don't know you, I'm going to put this link in the comments so everybody can follow you. But if you would just give us maybe a 2-minute introduction on who you are and what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So PMP is Project Management Professional. That is a certification by the Project Management Institute, which is the world's largest. It's a global institute, an organization founded in 1969 to provide training and a global organization for project management. And so a PMP means that I have a number of hours of rigorous project management training and life experience in project management that have been validated by the Institute. I am an electrical engineer by training. I also have a master's degree in telecommunications management. And my career in project management goes back to the late 80s, where I was a project manager for the power management systems of the space station prior to its launch. So
hang on a second. For those of you who you're not following what she just said, look at this. It says right here, NASA technical report. Oh my gosh. So when I make the joke, it's not rocket science. You could actually say, well, technically it is rocket science.
So I like to make the joke that I'm not a rocket scientist, but I can introduce you to one.
There you go. And she's not talking about me, folks. I'm here for you folks. That's it. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just, had to.
No, that's fine. So I have a long career in uh, aerospace and telecommunications primarily.
Okay. And okay, so you physically are in Houston, but I believe you do work for people. There's no geofence, right? I mean,
There's
you can help your
no
people.
geo constraints. Nope.
Yeah. Okay.
So uh, prior to launching my business, for 10 years, I worked for a major aerospace company in the United States. And I worked with teams around the globe. So in Singapore and France, Canada, Mexico, all around the globe.
All over the place. Now, do you speak any other languages, or are you English?
Not
I'm English.
well.
I'm English only, pretty much, right?
I'm pretty much English
Yeah.
only. I
I
can
say that because I speak sarcasm fluently, but I studied Spanish in school, so I can communicate enough to like order a burrito and go to the bathroom anywhere in the world, right? In Spanish.
yes, yes.
But that's
So
about it.
I did spend 6 weeks in Ecuador when I
Okay.
was in college, and I do live in Houston, so
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
eke my way through a little bit of
Yeah.
Spanish, but it's not pretty.
I tell people this. I speak Spanish like a 5-year-old speaks, you know what I mean? Like, so if you all present tense, I'm not conjugating my verbs in anything but present tense. You know what I mean? But so if you can bear with me and speak to me like, a 5-year-old, slow down, please.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because when I first started to learn Spanish, well, the first year was just learning the words and stuff, but the second year, like Spanish 2, I remember this. It was they went, okay, now you can only speak in Spanish, and I remember like everybody was speaking so fast, and I was like, how do you like hear it, translate it, and then you know what I mean? Like I'm still like I do that. So, anyways,
Hmm.
I never got past that step.
I also spent 3 months in Montreal, so
Ooh, so some
I
French.
a little bit of French. Plus,
Yeah.
I supported the A350 program
Okay.
for Airbus, so there's a little bit of French there, but
Check this
not
out.
enough to be proud of.
Ingor said, "Hey, WBS Rocks folks, we're here. Let's." And Gail said, "Yeah." And Gail is going to be on the show as a future guest. We haven't locked down Gail. We haven't locked down your date yet, but Gail's going to be on the show too. Gail is a fascinating person. She's from the press world, and now she's running marketing stuff for manufacturers. So I want to get her on the show and introduce what she's doing to help them out. Anyways, okay. So you spent time in Quebec. You spent time in
Quebec,
Ecuador. You live
Ecuador.
in Houston,
I've been
and you
so
can introduce us to all kinds of smart rocket science folks. And you are a PMP project management professional. You are also the owner of a company called Thurman Co. So
correct.
I'm gonna pull up Thurman Co. And we're gonna talk in great detail about Thurman Co. because you and I have worked together with your marketing stuff for Thermico. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, I just want to share the the company page on LinkedIn. And by the way, that is a sexy logo. I really like that logo.
That is a very sexy logo. Thank
Yeah,
you,
we can talk
Ira.
about that. Right? That's a great looking logo. But this is your LinkedIn business page. Okay. And I want people, if you're watching right now, do me a favor. I'm going to post the link for this. I have to switch over as a member to grab this. Okay, so let me just take this right here and put it right here. Follow. All right, guys. I can't. I can talk and type at the same time, but it has to be the same thing. So I'm just pulling up her company right now in the comments. Okay, so this is all that right here. All right, so follow Thermico. There is where you want to do it. If you'll do me that favor, hit that follow button for us, and let's get some more support for her business page. That would be amazing. Let's see.
Yes, thank you.
We've got some comments here. I so enjoy Angela Thurman, PMP. Seriously, Gail, she is a very smart lady, and I don't want to make her blush on the show, but nothing but respect. Jessica, welcome from South Africa. Do you know Ingor? Ingor is also from South Africa. I've got quite a few friends from South Africa, actually. Um, anyway, so welcome to the show. And then Gail said, "Cool, Angela, as world traveler. How many places have you been? Do you know? Is that it? Or is
Well,
there?
there's actually an app called Ben,
Uh-huh.
and I use this to track all the
Ooh.
countries that I've visited.
All right,
So,
and
and I count that I've been to that country if I've spent money and used the restroom.
there you
So
go. Yeah, I'm okay if the airport stops and you're there for 3 hours, I'm okay with that because
I'm
you
okay
are
with that.
technically there. Yeah,
Yeah. So so I spent a couple weeks in Chile. Uh, Beautiful country. Love the
that's the
food.
bottom of
Love
the
the people.
world.
Yes.
Or the top of the bottom. I don't know how you want to
Yeah.
look at it. But Chili's
Yeah.
Chili's Chili's
Chile's,
down there.
yeah. Fantastic food. Wonderful wine. Um, I've been
Chile is all mountains, right?
not entirely. It does have a wonderful coastline, so
Yeah,
you can go skiing and surfing.
yeah.
Like
So,
in a
so
matter of an hour.
oh wow,
Yeah.
that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like as part of the Spanish classes, we had to learn all the Spanish speaking countries and a little bit about them. And I remember Chile. Chile is long and skinny, right?
Very long and
It
skinny.
looks like a
Very,
chili.
very long.
Yeah, it looks like a chili pepper, but it's
It does.
I know it's against the coast, so it's got
Yes.
a long shoreline. But
Yeah.
then the land itself is all pretty much mountains, if I remember
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's
So
mountains and
3 weeks
beach.
in Chile, you were working on a project down there. Is that what it was?
Yes. So you'll note that one of the services we offer our clients is contract management. So the company that I worked for at the time had um, an interest in a consortium to build a fiber optic network across the Andes, so from
Ooh,
Santiago to Sao Paulo.
okay.
And um, due to the work that I'd previously done, they sent me to Chile to help with those negotiations with uh, the equipment manufacturer Nortel, who at that time was one of the leading
I remember Norton.
telecommunications
Yeah.
manufacturer in the world. So I went down and helped with those negotiations, and in the end was told that my assistants had helped them close the negotiations with a great resolution, and we achieved the results we wanted in 2 weeks instead of 3 months.
Wow.
So it
So
was
you're
great.
not only smart, you're good at what you do. There you go.
What they tell me, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's always nice. It's always nice to hear that stuff, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's look at Thurman Co. a little bit on LinkedIn, and then we'll just go over to the website after that. But on here, so it says about it, and I just want to read that, right? Because it's 3 paragraphs, not that long. We help small to medium-sized organizations with strategic, technical project management to ensure that they are doing the right things to keep their projects aligned with their business goals while balancing the project management triple constraint triangle of scope, cost, and schedule. And that actually that's represented by this triangle in your logo, right? That's where that
Yes,
comes from. Yeah.
yes,
Further, we provide contract management services to ensure that these companies reap the benefits of the contracts that they have negotiated, are positioned to negotiate from a position of strength, and are able to monitor the contract lifecycle. And that's really kind of what you were just talking about
yes,
with the project in Chile for Nortel, right? So
yes,
there's an example of that. And finally, we also provide supplier management resources to strengthen their supply chain, the form of supplier performance reviews and supplier capability and capability assessments. And you guys can read the rest. But so that's really what you've got. You've got 3 uh, pillars to the
yes,
business. Okay.
yes.
So I want, again, if you guys would do me a favor, I put this link in the comments. Go ahead and hit the follow button, and you can follow along when she makes posts and stuff on LinkedIn from the company page. But then also, I'm excited to talk about today. I believe you are the first person on this show that I worked with their marketing materials, right? So you called me, and I think we just mentioned Sam a few minutes ago, right? Sam Gupta. He works for WBS Rocks, and we're all part of his group. Gail and Ingor and me and you and about 30 other people. But anyways, so we're in this group, and that's how we met, which I'm thankful for that. But you said, hey, I'm going on Sam's show podcast, which we'll talk about that in a second. But you needed to get your website up, and some other people I think had let you down, right? Is that, am I remembering
Yes, yes.
that? So you're like, Ira, I hear you can do this relatively quickly. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of my claim to fame. I typically have websites up in 3 to 4 business days. And we can talk about that. But that was what I told you. And so after that initial call, we had talked about getting your logo knocked out. I think I had it to you like in an hour, right? It was pretty quick.
Yes, that was just amazing. I had an idea, but you first of all you listened to my idea, and you made it so much better. You expounded on that. You made it better.
Well, I'll
And
tell you, the philosophy for me behind logo design is I'm always coming at it from one of two things. So there's the contemporary people who are like new age thinkers, forward thinkers, like sleek. And then there's some people who like retro or old school classic design. And so when I'm talking to somebody, I'm trying to understand, are they more retro or are they more contemporary? So that's not something I necessarily say to the client. That's just something I'm trying to absorb and understand. But with you, we talked a lot about colors because I know you're into the psychology of the colors. And so the colors, you and I agreed on the colors before I went to work. So I knew what color the palette we were going to use. And so the rest of it, I hate to say it, but it was kind of easy just because like you knew what you wanted and I just had to bring it to life and make it look good. So, and just so you know, I did go contemporary with you, which would have surprised me because I know you're a retro Baptist lady and I'm a retro Baptist guy. So I get it. Like, but it was a sleek that's where you wanted. You wanted something a little sleeker. So that's where I went with that. Okay. So let's go back now that we've talked about this. But with the website,
well, if we could talk about the logo for just another minute.
yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting to me that you described that as being contemporary because I've had other people tell me that it's classic.
Well, okay.
It reminds them of a herald, for example.
So there's a couple things here. You've got, it almost looks like an old school stamp, like if you were going to wax something in the old days, right? It could be that, and that was by design. And so what they're talking about probably there is the thicker because it's thick. But what makes it contemporary? This is why it's contemporary. The color used for one, which there was no other way around it because we agreed on that. But also, if you notice, and it's hard to see from this, but I'm outlined everything. So everything is outlined with a thin line. And that is not a classic or retro style. That's a modern style. So that is kind of what it is. And then also, if this was truly classic, the triangle wouldn't fit. The triangle curves, and you have to really pay attention to this to get this one. But I did not use the same angles so a perfect triangle has, similar angles. I actually manipulated the angles and changed them. It's not a perfect triangle. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
It's not an isosceles triangle.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I manipulated. So like right here, this angle is a lot different than that. So, but these are square. So that's actually a square, and that's squared out, but this one isn't. So this is a check mark. Anyways, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but this is a check mark, and the others, well, this is actually an upside down check mark too. But anyways, when I designed it, I designed this piece and this piece separately. These two are clones, and this one is the one that I manipulated. So I didn't even tell you that before. So there's some information about your logo. But anyways, yeah,
I think there's a lot of psychology in the logo.
I consider that a contemporary design. So there you go. We got somebody watching from Ireland. So look at this. This is what I love about the show. We've got Ireland. We've got the India continent, right? Well, she's not from Singapore. This is Canada. and we got South Africa, and then we've got the United States. And that's just from people who've made comments. There's 14 people watching on LinkedIn right now, so who knows where they all are from. But anyways, I love that about this show. So
Wonderful.
let's talk more about this website. So in marketing, obviously everybody needs, if you're a business, you need a website today, right? I
Yes.
mean, in the digital age, you need a website. But for you, for Thurman Co., what was the main objective for you for your website?
My immediate need was that I had this podcast that was getting ready to drop,
Hmm.
and I had no place for people to be able to find me once they heard me on the podcast. So it was urgent.
Yeah. And
And
now look at all these. I mean, you're a busy lady, dude. Look at this. So
well,
for
and counting the show today, I have 8 appearances before the end of the year.
yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, if you guys are not familiar, go to thurmanco.com. In fact, I will drop that in the comments so you guys can check it. But this is on the events page. And what we've done here, and I say we because, again, Angela hired me to create this page for her. But if you click on it, it will take you to the interview, right? So all the different interviews that she's done here, you can just click the button and it'll sorry, I didn't necessarily mean for it to do that, but but that's how easy it is for you. You can find Angela and all these different topics. So we've got the date of the interview or the event, and then the title of it, and then click here to go to the page. Sometimes it's a landing page, sometimes it's YouTube, sometimes there's a few that are audio only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are still some podcasts that are audio only. Go figure. I mean, anyways. Everybody, I invite people to my quote unquote podcast, and I don't always tell people it's video show. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't come ready for it to be, on air. And I'm like, oh, I guess I should have, I should, I should have told you that better. All right, so you needed a place on your website to house your podcast appearances, but that was the immediate need. And then what was the main need? What were you trying to do there?
Oh, the main purpose of the website is, of course, to to tell people what it is my business does, and to describe the services I offer, and to give them a way to contact me if they're interested
Yeah.
in those services.
Well, and here we go. We've got the 3 services that you guys offer. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
supplier management, project management, and contract management. And again, that was the pillars for the triangle. That was that. And then I guess we should explain the T in case anybody can't see that. The T is Thurman. That's your
Mm-hmm.
last name, right? And
Yes.
then what was the idea behind this shield?
So that actually comes from the second um, triangle of project management, that we have risk assessment, change management, communication, um, and quality.
That's right. I remember that now.
Mhm.
It had been a minute, so I forgot about that.
So
Okay.
we've got the primary, budget, scope, and schedule, and then there's like a follow on or a secondary um, triangle that is change management, or sometimes people will say communication. Those two kind of like battle it out. Um, Quality and risk.
So tell us a little bit about, okay, so you're doing supplier management,
Mm-hmm.
project management, and contract management. I'm assuming now
Mm-hmm.
that you can do just one of those things for somebody, or you can do any mixture thereof. But
Yes.
tell us a little bit about who your avatar is. Like, who are you?
My ideal customer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who are you mainly like going after, and how are you helping them? So we'll start with their profile, and then
Mm-hmm.
we'll switch over to what Thurman Co does to help them.
So we actually did go through an exercise, my group and I, of creating avatars and an ideal customer organization, and we just called it Acme. And we grabbed some photos out of LinkedIn, and we made up names, and we created an organizational chart for Acme. and we've been going through the exercise of defining what our ideal customer needs and wants, and what each of these roles, what they might want. So that's been really interesting. What I perceive my ideal customer to be is that small to medium sized organization that maybe growing rapidly, or they're going through some sort of transformation, and they simply don't have these resources in-house, but they recognize their need for these skills, and that's why they would reach out to someone like me, a consultant, to come in and help them through that hurdle. And that's what I'm here for. My team and I.
So it's small to medium businesses that don't have a supply chain management professional, project management necessarily on staff, contract manager, professional on staff that needs help. Is it industry agnostic? We've already discussed that it doesn't matter where they are, but
it is, because project management, these skills are very transferable. So while my background has primarily been in aerospace and telecommunications, it's been very interesting to me that my clients to date have been almost exclusively in software. So I did some work, oddly enough, building processes for Excel training. I worked for a German software company with a special project that they had a need for. And then now I'm working for, so I had one project that ended October 29th, and immediately November the 1st, I started the next project for the next client.
Nice.
With a Salesforce implementation for a logistics company in Dallas.
Okay.
And then, the projects that are in my pipeline, some of them are more ERP implementation.
For those of you watching who don't know what ERP was, because I joined this group, WBS Rocks, and I didn't know what ERP was. I'm like, now I knew there was a program or system like it, but I didn't know it had a name, right? So like I've used Salesforce. In fact, I used to be the Salesforce admin for a company that I worked for. But we didn't have ERP. So what would happen is the sales team and the customer service team, we would use Salesforce to communicate. But then when the orders would come in, we had to start over in a whole nother software that didn't talk to it. And everybody in production didn't have access to Salesforce because of the expense of licenses. So they had no idea that we needed like this job done by this date because they didn't see all the notes and all the forecasting and all that stuff. So ERP is enterprise resource planning, and it communicates CRM with production, with billing, with everything is connected, right? So I wish that the companies that I worked for had ERP, but enterprise resource planning is the acronym ERP. So there we go. So I just want people to know what you're talking about.
Connecting your inventory, your manufacturing, your billing, accounting, all of those things together.
And it can save not only headaches from, you're like your sales team, again, the forecasting, we got the order, and now your production team, your management team, your inventory, supply chain, everybody knows, okay, well, this order is coming. It's got a 90% chance of hitting. We can prepare by getting that inventory, those raw materials in place so that when the order comes in, we're ready to go. And obviously you can set all kinds of other things, but for me, that would have saved my bacon so many times. So,
yes.
If you need ERP, you don't have it, you should talk to Angela. Help figure out how to get it and implement it, right? That's
right. Right. I'd be happy to help with that.
All right. Now I summarize
get you a project.
I summarized what you said here. I think I just want to make sure I got this right. So Angela is helping small to medium businesses looking for help with their supplier chain management, project management, and or contract management, industry
Mhm.
agnostic. I hope I spelled that right. And
Yes.
location doesn't matter. So if you're watching this, whether you're watching it live or you watching this later, because I know it's holiday week and we're obviously running on a skinny crowd here today, but if you're watching this later, reach out to Angela if you need help with any of those things. So let's talk a little bit about supplier chain management because I don't know that everybody, we primarily are talking to marketing professionals here, people who are interested in marketing. But what is supplier chain management? What does that look like?
Supply chain management could be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And um, it could be something as simple as, do you have a system to capture um, who all your suppliers are, what their part numbers are, what their pricing structures are, how you're going to receive quotes from them and offer them bids and that sort of thing. It could be something, that simple. My area of expertise is the risks involved in your supply chain management. And are you aware of the risks involved? And I think that in today's world, we're all well aware of the risks involved in the supply chain. And so it's more than just
Talking about all those ships that are out at sea full of our Christmas presents
exactly. It's
and
it's more than just the on-time delivery, although that is a huge factor.
yeah,
And that is ultimately what your goal is. On-time delivery of a quality product is your ultimate goal.
yeah. So, but
So,
are you also talking about because I mean, obviously now we're talking about the products even being available and them
mhm,
and
mhm.
they honor the purchase orders when you send them. But
Yes.
are you also talking about like the risk for price adversity and stuff like that? Like, so if you're using the same three vendors all the time, are they really giving you the best price and things like? Are we talking about that too? Or
Yes. Yes, that could be something. But
yeah,
but even prior to the pandemic, whether they realized it or not, manufacturers, particularly, but users of suppliers were likely at risk, whether they realized it or not. Because, for example, you know, what's the likelihood, what's the risk of a natural disaster
all right.
in your supply chain? Who knew that Hurricane Harvey was going to happen and Houston was going to be, underwater for a week? Um,
That one still makes me cry because I was living in New Braunfels at the time. I just put my house on the market 3 days, three
uh-huh.
days before Hurricane Harvey hit.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well,
it took me 9 months. It took
I
me
had
9 months
just
to
I
sell that
had
house.
just bought my house and have been here
Wow.
for less than a year,
Okay.
and so
That was a bad look for the rest of you in the country. You're like, I don't even remember Hurricane Harvey. I will never forget that sucker ever. Anyways,
who knew that there was going to be a once in 100 years kind of freeze that was going to take down the entire power grid of the state of Texas?
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I realize I'm giving Texas centric
No, but
examples.
yeah, but all of us can look at okay. So, but this is important because I never thought about that. Like, I
Hmm.
didn't put that together with this, right? So,
Yeah.
supplier chain management, and I guess so. I do think about it in a different way. So, because I'm in the digital space, I think
Hmm.
about what we call five raid
Hmm.
tier five rated chains, right? So farms, server
Hmm.
farms, basically, right? Like it could be a tornado, it could be an earthquake, it could be a hurricane.
Hmm.
You want to make sure that your cloud services have
You have redundancy.
redundancy distribution in several areas and that they are a five rated facility for that
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Or
I get it when I think about it from that perspective, then I get it. So you're talking about maybe a 3PL that has warehouses in multiple locations. So they've got some in the northeast, some in the northwest or southwest or whatever, but
exactly,
maybe not
exactly.
all the United States too then, right? Maybe you have some in other because if you're dealing with
Canada,
everything
Mexico.
Yeah, if you're dealing with China, right? If you're getting all
Mm-hmm.
your supplies from China and we have an embargo or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, I don't even know the right way to say it, but anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Somebody says, "Hey, we're going to start charging a new tariff," and they say, "Well, screw you guys, we're going somewhere else." Then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so you're saying you need to have redundancy as part of a supplier chain management. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad you're here because I wouldn't have never thought of that. So
Well, or what about if you're buying a unique part
yeah, yeah,
and there's, and it's patented, for example. And what happens if there's one little shop in the Northeast that manufactures this?
it's closed. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
for example, let's say that something happens and they have a some sort of aggressive, predatory takeover or whatever, some
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of,
yeah. I
you know,
gotcha. Something
and
happens and they're no longer available. Whatever that
they're,
something.
they're
But what do
just,
you do?
let's not say that they're no longer available, but they're disrupted, and you're not going to be able to get your parts for some months while things settle down.
Or
What,
what if they just change the pricing, right? They say, "Hey,
what if they change the
new
price?
ownership, and now it's 400 times." You know,
Yes. And what some people, what the common man on the street doesn't think about is parts obsolescence.
yeah,
So, you were telling me earlier today about, new equipment. Like you're thinking about buying some new equipment. Well, what's going to happen to the parts that you're no longer using and those are obsolete, or they're no they're no longer supported, like your software is no longer supported.
right, right. Look, in the print business, this was very typical for us, right? So we had
Mhm,
there's really three things, and people don't always think about the three things.
mhm,
There's the hardware itself. So like your printer equipment.
mhm,
Then
mhm.
there's the computer hardware, which is another set of hardware, but hardware nonetheless. And then there's the software. And
So hardware,
realistically,
firmware, software.
yeah, and so realistically, if you want to update a new printer, you almost always have to also update the hardware computer that you're using to drive it because you need the drivers to connect. And then also you'll find a lot of times that the software doesn't work, the
Mhm.
operating system doesn't work. For example, so like Microsoft 10 to whatever the new thing is, or XP. Remember all those, right? Like you want the newest printer.
Millennium edition.
Yeah, because like I worked and you and I had some similar crossover here in the aerospace because back in the 2000s, I was selling large format printer equipment to the aerospace community and some others. But anyways, right? And so they wanted stuff that it's kind of funny. They wanted analog devices. They
Mhm,
didn't want for security purposes. They didn't want
mhm.
any hard drives. They didn't want anything that you could stick a USB in or anything like that. So almost all the devices at that point had the hard drives and they had USB ports. So some of the manufacturers started to shift it where some of the hard drives became optional. You could
Mhm,
take it out.
mhm.
And they were building printers without USB thumb drives, which is crazy. But that's why they were doing it because there was
Mhm.
enough demand from the aerospace and yeah. Well, so I was thinking the other term for that where they were doing like the military stuff. But anyways,
Yeah.
the point is they wanted to keep projects top secret, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
you had to have devices that couldn't connect. So there's a supplier chain management issue that I didn't think of it from a supplier chain management.
Right.
Okay. So I think
So,
we've covered that area. Let's go over to project management because
mhm.
you're a PMP, so I always think of you as project management. I talk to people when I say, "Who is Angela Thurman?" I mean, that's what I say, she's a PMP.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what is project management what's the P again? It's project management
Project management professional.
professional, okay. What is it that you do as a project management professional that, somebody who's outside that industry? Because I don't know what that actually means.
That means um, there's a big rule book called the Project Management Body of Knowledge, and it's
Okay,
like the Project Management Bible, and it is It's published by the Project Management Institute,
Uh-huh.
and it is a set of guidelines and best practices for how to be or how to effectively manage a project.
Okay.
And it has all of the knowledge areas and all the things you ought to do if you to be a good project manager. So as a PMP, I actually do those things.
Yeah, you're held to a higher standard. Okay, so
Oh, well, that's another thing. As a PMI member, I actually adhere to the code of ethics.
yeah. Well,
And
I know your ethics are second to none. So I know that about you from just being your friend. Let me ask you this. Okay, so PMP, project management professional, you've got all these guidelines and the rule book that kind of help tell you what you should be doing. What are some things in there that would surprise people? Like if they, I mean, I'm throwing this to you off the cuff, so you didn't have any. I never prep my guests, people.
no,
I
it's
ask
okay.
what
It's
I
okay.
ask in the moment.
So,
So like, what is this?
so one thing that seems like obvious, but people don't do, is to create a stakeholders list. So
Okay.
who who are the stakeholders? Who are the people on the project that have skin in the game?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Make a list and
That's good.
collect their contact information. And archive that in your project folder so that everybody knows who's on the project, what is their role, how do I get in touch with them, and share that information
No doubt.
so that everybody knows that John Smith is the project sponsor, and here he's the one that is going to write the checks.
Yeah. That I mean, that's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Let's get paid.
And
Let me ask you this question. Since we're a marketing show,
yes.
what is a big challenge or maybe a common challenge that you find with regards to marketing in the PMP space? Maybe not as the owner,
Hmm.
but it could
Hmm.
be the owner too. But just,
Hmm.
in general, this is a marketing issue that we face all the time
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's marketing people watching that going, hey, I would love to work with PMPs, but I don't know what their headaches are. So, like, if you could
Yes.
tell us a
Hmm.
marketing headache that they can go, okay, well, I can figure out something to address that.
I think that one marketing challenge would be maybe people don't realize that they can get a project manager as a consultant, and
Okay.
they
Yeah.
don't, they maybe hadn't considered that.
They just
And
don't even know the need for one. Like, what is it?
right,
How it
and
help?
you don't have to hire somebody forever.
Yeah.
Projects are time constrained. We're used to working on projects that have an end date.
Okay.
And you know,
So that's one of the reasons why you created the website,
yeah.
right? And that's one of the reasons why you're doing the social media and you're coming on shows like this and
Hmm.
you're saying, okay, so you're talking to business owners now too.
Hmm. Hmm.
What is when you say a project, we're used to
Hmm.
working on projects. What is a typical project that you would be able to help with that maybe they don't know, like, okay, we're talking about the basic problem is they don't know that they can get PMP help, but
Hmm.
help them. Okay, what kind of situation are we talking about where they can bring you in for help?
Maybe you need a software transformation, and that's a project that's going to last 3 or 4 or 6 months, and it's going to be successfully implemented, and then it's done, and thank you very much, and I move on to the next project.
Okay.
Or you need someone to come in and um, understand how your manufacturing processes work and map your processes to help you prepare for an audit or a certification like ISO or AS 9100.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was doing ISO process mapping in 1991. So
You don't look like you're old enough to be talking about 1991
people
anymore.
people tell me that, and I tell them when I started my first job at NASA, Ronald Reagan was the president.
Whatever you're doing for skincare and stuff, you should just open that and sell that because I'm
Oh,
telling you.
It's
Like
good, clean
you look
living.
like your mom could be telling us about that, not you.
Oh,
Anyway.
well, thank you, Ira. I appreciate that.
All right. I want to get to something. We actually mentioned it in the show announcement. We talked
Mhm.
about a marketing formula that you use. It's called
Yes.
the Economy of One. It was developed by, I'm actually connected to her here on LinkedIn, so I'm excited to talk about this too. And
Yes.
maybe I'll have Elizabeth on the show and she can detail it in great detail. But let's
Yes.
just mention it and tell people what it is,
Okay.
kind of whet their appetite for it. So,
Mhm.
Elizabeth Allen has this Economy of One. You've been using it. Again, it's hard to say this because you don't look like you're old enough to have all this experience, but you've been using it for over a decade. So tell
Yes.
us about the Economy of One. What is it? How do you use it? Why? Tell us what's so great about it.
Oh, it's Elizabeth Allen is a fabulous woman. I just can't. I mean, she's a mentor to me, and I just can't say enough good things about her. And I'm so glad you're connected with her. Um, so she created this methodology called the Economy of One, and it basically thinks about. I mean, you think about yourself as I am my own business. Even if I work for a corporation, I still need to promote myself as my own business. And so she has several different tools to use. And you can find her at economyofone.com, by the way. And
I'm gonna share that. I just said Elizabeth Allen. I tagged her. We're singing your praises here on the show, and you should join as a guest and tell us more about it. So,
yes, I'm sure she'd love to.
all
So
right, you said
basically,
economyofone.org.
economyofone.com. And she has a YouTube channel as well. And she's published 2 books on this methodology. And the first pillar of her process, yes, that's it, is that you build relationships, and the opportunities for your business growth come out of those relationships. And I can tell you that is absolutely true. It has worked for me multiple times. And she has just a simple spreadsheet based method
Yeah.
for prioritizing and tracking the opportunities that you learn about. And it's just red, blue, yellow, YBR. Or I guess it should be yellow, blue, red, YBR. And you,
You know what those are, right?
yes,
Those are
yes,
primary
it's
colors.
a primary colors.
Talking
Yes,
to a designer here, baby. I love
yes,
it.
yes, yes.
All right.
And so as you learn about a possible opportunity, you add it to your list, and then you track that as you gain more information, make a connection with the person in that company, and so forth. And it just, I mean, it's a way to organize and track. It's basically a CRM.
And I want everybody to understand who you are. And you're talking about a program that you use.
Mhm.
You're like a systems data processing guru. I'm throwing that word out, actually. Anyways, right?
Mhm.
And you're talking about somebody else's system that helps you do that. So
Yes.
imagine if you're not good at systematic thinking, which actually is one of my strengths, but systematic thinking, I think, is partly what makes me good at everything that I do. And so you're talking about a system, if you're not good at it, or even if you are, that can help you improve your own systems.
Yes.
So you're talking to a PMP who's a project management professional giving you advice that she herself uses this particular program. So that's a strong endorsement. And Elizabeth Allen has not paid us any money to endorse this,
Oh
but
no.
yeah,
Elizabeth gives this away.
yeah. So, anyways, check out the website Economy of One for more, and we invite Elizabeth to come on the show and
Yes.
talk for an hour about it. And so, anyways, and let's do this for the next 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Let's talk about some challenges that you're facing in the marketing space. especially now I'm going to throw this gauntlet to you.
Oh,
If you
great.
have something that like, you know what? I don't know what the solution is. If you have anything like that. So the reason why season 2 of Marketing Mondays, I'm inviting business owners on is
Mhm.
because you're talking to marketing professionals who are eager to figure out ways to, obviously add clients too. So if we can come up with, if you could tell us, hey, like, hey, we're having this kind of problem or that kind of problem, somebody watching might come up with an answer to that or a solution. They might reach out to you and go, hey, here's one way that you could address that. That to me would make this
Mhm.
whole thing like just pop off, right? Be totally worth it. So
Mhm.
if you have marketing challenges that are common for your business, or again, ones that you're like, I don't even know what the answer is, I would love to talk about any of that stuff. So do you have one? I don't know if you have one that you're thinking of. Maybe you want to craft that, but if you have like a common marketing challenge, we can start with that.
Is that for me or to anyone in?
Or maybe just PMPs in general, right? I mean, it could be
Uh-huh.
either. Yeah. So it's not necessary because you're pretty smart. Maybe you're like, you know what, I've already kind of figured this out, but
Well, I think that PMPs generally we're very structured,
yeah.
and I think that marketing is so creative. It's a little bit hard for us. I know it is for me to step outside of that box and to come up with new creative stuff all the time.
So
And
image,
so
you're talking about imagery and
yes,
yeah. Okay.
yes. So the best thing for me was to say this is not my bailiwick, and to hand it to you, like my social media posts on the website, the LinkedIn page. You know, Robin, my
Yeah. Your
assistant, she
assistant.
does that,
Yeah.
um, because number one, I don't have time, and number two, I'm just not that creative.
See,
She.
I love what you're talking about here because I mean, even for me, and I think all business owners, look, this is just good how to run your business and get your business to grow.
Mhm.
What Angela's saying is we can't all be masters at everything. Understand your strengths, figure out where you're weak, and then I talked to Brad Smith last week. I don't know if you know Brad Smith, okay, but Brad Smith is an executive coach. He coaches coaches. Says one of the first things that we all have to understand is time is limited, right? And
Yes.
you understand that as a PMP. So
Yep.
time is limited. So figure out what is the thing that you're wasting, like you hate it. Like you hate this, you're not good at it, you're not efficient at it. How much does it cost to hire somebody to do that and then get it off your plate? So he said you can actually, because you might have a list of 5 things. Like this would cost X amount to get this off. This would cost that amount to get up. You know what I mean? You stack them up. You go, the thing
Mhm.
that takes the most time that you can source for the least amount should be the first one, right? Time suck, less expensive. Move that one first.
Yes.
So that was some advice we got for last week. So if you guys didn't watch last week's show, go back and watch last week's show. Brad Smith he's literally probably the most intelligent person I know. He's
I won't be
he's about
offended by that.
no, don't be. He's about 80 years old. And he's a chemical engineer. So he's one of those guys. Anyways.
Okay.
But he's also really funny. But he's lived I was talking to Allison DeFord. Do you know her?
No.
Allison DeFord runs a company called Felt Marketing, and she's actually somebody I'm going to introduce you to, Angela, because
Oh, great.
she works in manufacturing marketing. So
Mhm.
she's in that space. She might be able to be a good source of introductions for you for PMP work. So that's why I'll introduce you. But I was talking to her. She's like, when you talk to Brad, because she's a client of Brad, and she's like, when I'm talking to Brad, I'm not talking to somebody with like one lifetime experience or two. You know what I mean? Like you'll have careers and that's like a lifetime. And then I talk to a lot of people like they've done 2 things. Like I've done
Mhm.
printing and marketing. Anyways, she's like, he's got more than that because chemical engineering, that was his base career. But now he's been doing coaching for a long time. I'm like, yeah, it's 80 years of experience. And he's an avid reader.
Mhm.
He's a high intelligence guy. So
Mhm.
anyways, that's Brett Smith. So, okay, so you're talking about creativity as a challenge for PMPs because you guys are more systematic in the way you think. You're
At
more
least,
analytical.
at least the ones that I know are.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But
So,
I
is
think.
there a current challenge in that you specifically haven't resolved, or because
Well, I'm
You've
working
got
on
Rob?
it. I mean, because because there's the more traditional project management methodologies and theories, and then the newer project management theories, which are specifically designed for like software development, is agile project management. And it's like, oh well, throw all that away and do it this way.
Yeah, here's
And
whole
so,
new way a whole new way of thinking. Let me ask you this. This might help. How are you finding your clients? Like, because marketing, a lot of marketing efforts are based on, you know, building new relationships and finding new potential prospects to become customers,
yes.
right? So
Mhm,
that's a lot
mhm,
of the activities we do. So how
mhm.
are you finding your new clients? Is it
Well,
referrals or
it all goes back to the economy of one, and it's through I don't want to say networking, because I'm not like going to networking meetings and passing out business cards.
right, right, right,
That's
right. I
no,
got
no,
totally.
no, no, no. It is relationship building.
Yes.
And again, we go back to the WBS Rocks
100%.
community.
100%.
And
And what did I
and
just say? I want to introduce you to my friend Angela
exactly,
because
yes,
she's got connections I know that would be good for you. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I got it.
And that is exactly what Elizabeth teaches.
Yeah,
And I have to say, 100% across the board, um, every client that I have had in the very short time that my company has existed, but even if I go back to when I landed my job with the big aerospace company, that came through an existing relationship that I
yeah,
have nurtured over time.
yeah, yeah,
And I think about it that way. I don't think about it as, oh, I have to go out and network and network and network.
yeah,
I think about it as, I need to nurture the relationships
yeah,
that I have. And so, like on LinkedIn, I am not an open networker,
yeah. No,
because
and
I would
I'm
rather
I'm
nurture
with
a
you.
relationship I already have than make a new one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I specialize at Bowman Digital Media in organic marketing. We don't do CPC ads, and like people call me all the time. Will you do my Google ads for me? Will you manage my LinkedIn ads and all that stuff? It's like, no, I'll give you a referral. I've got people I know that are good at that, but I personally don't like that. And people go, well, why not? And I go, have you heard of this thing called a bounce rate? And they go, no, what's that? I go, it's what happens when people are going to visit your website and they basically bail out on you. That's considered a bounce, right? Technically it's a few seconds, but anyways, if they go to your website, they click on it, but then they either get impatient for it to load because your load speed's too slow, or they don't find exactly what they were looking for right away and they leave, that affects your domain authority,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you don't want a high bounce rate, but if you can get people to know who you are, to like you and to trust you via social media or whatever before they ever go to your website, they're much less likely to bounce. They're also 3 times more likely to fill out a contact form. So they're 80% less likely to bounce, and they're 3 times more likely to fill out a contact form. If you do the math, 3 times 8, that's 24 times better results. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like organic, because organic is based on what you just said, relationships. It's based on relationships. And so that's what we specialize in. Um, where are you finding the new relationships from? Is it mostly LinkedIn? Is it mostly from people you have worked with? Like, you've worked on a project and they're sending, "Hey, you should talk to so and so," or is it some other thing? How are you finding your new clients?
Um, Long-term relationships are introducing me to their LinkedIn contacts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, I find that to be true. I also joined a couple. I hate to say networking groups because again, what people think is like I'm just going to go in a room and I'm going to like hand out business cards and blah, blah. I'm not talking about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a couple of groups, and like WBS Rocks, it's the same kind of idea where we get together on a certain frequency and we get to know each other. And then I'm not really selling them anything, although some of them do work with us too. But it's more like, hey, you should meet so and so,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm finding most of my business comes that way. So, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we just hit the top of the hour, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've got something coming up soon, so we've got to get you off. But I do, before we leave, I want to give you an opportunity, maybe like 3 minutes. anything that we didn't touch that you would like to address, and then after that we'll do our final goodbyes. But just like, open mic for Angela for 3 minutes. Cover, if you want to talk more about the economy of one, or you want to talk about contract management, because we didn't really dig into that, or anything else you want to talk about, Hurricane
Well,
Harvey.
I guess I just want to make sure I issue a particular a disclaimer or a caveat is
Yeah.
that I I am not an attorney.
All right.
I,
She doesn't pretend to be one on TV.
I do not pretend to be one on TV. So, I did go to law school for a couple of years because I had such a keen interest in contracts, and I did really well, and but because of various circumstances and stuff, I never did my third year, and I'm not gonna lose any sleep over the fact that I don't have a JD after my name, but I do love, and most people think that this is just really sick, but I love contracts.
Oh no!
It's a puzzle. No. It's a puzzle. I love figuring out all the.
Time out. Are you the person that actually reads all the disclosure statements before you hit I agree?
No.
Okay.
I'll scan it, but I don't read it in depth.
When I meet that person, I'm probably gonna hang up on them and we'll be like, "No, man, we can't be friends."
But and a lot of it has to do with risk, actually.
Yeah.
And
but you're trying to help people avoid or mitigate that risk, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, two things. I want my customers to get the full benefit of the contract they've negotiated. And secondly, I want to make sure that they're avoiding any pitfalls, any risks, when they are at the beginning and have the opportunity to negotiate a good contract.
So let me ask you this, because this might be oversimplified, but I'm a simple guy, so here we go. Let's say somebody sends me a non-disclosure or something from the marketing perspective, right? It's like 4 pages, 8 pages, something like that. If I wanted to hire you, and I know you're not an attorney, you just told us that, but if I wanted to hire you to just read that over and give me your thought on that, is that too basic for you? Is that something like I'm not going to do an hour's worth of work or whatever? Is that too small?
No, not at all. I will issue a disclaimer that says I'm not an attorney.
Right,
I'm giving you my personal opinion of the pitfalls or the good, the bad, and the ugly of what this says.
Yeah, because we're not going to court over this. This is just, before I sign it, I want somebody who understands the way contracts works to, and maybe I don't know, maybe your fees, I'm going to assume your hourly rate is probably cheaper than an attorney. I don't know.
Yes.
That might be
most attorneys that I know, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because we did this the other day at WBS Rocks, didn't we? We said, what's the most expensive rate that you've ever paid per hour? And I think almost everybody's most expensive rate was to an attorney, right?
So, I think so, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, Angela. Well, I want to just personally thank you for coming on the show. I feel like we could go a whole nother hour, but I know you don't have time, so that's okay. I might ask you to come back again for season 3, because I think there's a lot more we could talk about. But before we go, let me just make sure again that anybody joining us late or that's looking can find these. So we've got, I'm going to share a screen. We've got ThurmanCo.com. This website, if you like it, you can hire me to build you one, because I built this for her. Thank you very much for trusting me with that. So that's ThurmanCo. It's ThurmanCo.com. You can also find her on LinkedIn, ThurmanCo.com. Just look for the cool logo. It's a triangle and a shield and a T. And if you like that, you can hire me to make your logo for you too, because I did that for her. And then you can also find her here. And I've put all these links in the comments. So just go through the comments on LinkedIn and you can find all the links. But I wanted to make sure that people can find you, because that's part of the reason why I have you on the show. Also, I'm a bit behind, and I apologize, everybody. Marketing Mondays lives permanently on Bowman Digital Media's website, but I've got like 4 episodes, I think, that I need to add. So I've been a little bit busy in my personal life. You guys have been following along with that with my daughter. So anyways, that's why I'm behind. But I will get those up, and then I'll have the links to Angela's company right there as an active backlink. But in full disclosure, she's already there because I built her website and I love it so much. She's on the web. If you go to Bowman Digital Media /websites, you can see she's there, and I've got an active backlink already. Actually, you know what I should do, Angela, for you on this one? Maybe what I should do is link it to your LinkedIn business page as a
That'd be
separate
great. Yeah.
link. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So, anyways, Angela, thank you for being on the show. I have a guest next week. I don't remember who it is. Hang on a second with me, everybody. This is live TV. I'm going to figure out who it is so I can plug the show next week, which is Everett Wuth. He's going to be coming on. He's going to be talking about something that I've never addressed on this show. It's people management. So
Mm-hmm.
if you it's kind of like human resources, but not exactly. What he's talking about is managing your talent to get to utilize your skill the most effective. Angela, you probably would love it too.
Yeah,
But
sounds like it.
I've never talked about that on the show. I met him in a networking group. Remember, I told you I joined a networking group. This is one of them. I met him at High Rise Networks. It's a national group that I belong to called High Rise. So that's where I met him. And I said, "Hey, that's fascinating. I have a marketing show. I'd love to have you on the show." And he said, "Sure, when?" I said, "How about the 29th?" So join us next Monday for Everett Bluth. He is a people management. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He'll correct me. Anyways, people management specialist. He'll help you get the most out of your employee labor pool, however it is that you bring them on. Angela, thank you so much for coming. Do you have any exciting plans for Thanksgiving?
No. I'll just say no. I'll leave it there.
We have family coming over, so we're actually excited. Usually we travel to other people, but this time because of my daughter, they're coming to us, so we're excited. We're gonna have my wife's parents and her sister and her niece coming to visit. So
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it should be fun. Anyways,
Yeah, good.
thanks for joining me, everybody. If you have any marketing questions, drop them in the comments. I'll answer. If you know anybody who owns a small or medium-sized business that would make a good guest for me, send me a DM, send me a message, let me know, and I'll invite them on the show. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Angela. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Ira. Thanks, everyone.
See y'all later.